From the Sunshine State, this is Tampa Bay's 10 Talk.
Good morning. Welcome to Dispatch Radio. This is Brandon Jones. Heading up the show here this morning, brought to you by theglobaldispatch.com. With me, as always, the co-founder, the managing editor, and infectious disease guru himself, Robert Harriman. How's it going this morning, Bob?
Hey, Brandon. How's it going? Doing well today?
Oh, absolutely. Another action-packed show. We also have our executive producer in training, my son, Jake Jones. How's it going?
Pretty good, thank you.
Not too tired?
No, not too tired.
Hey, you know, I'm a motivated team to be up this early to enjoy bringing you the news, folks. A lot to cover. We're going to have on at the bottom of the hour an interview that we did with Brett Durbin. He is the founder and executive director of Trash Mountain Project. And about 8:45 this morning, Eastern Time, we're going to have on Daniel McAdams. He's going to catch us up on Syria. He is the executive director, of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. So McAdams is by far the one of the greatest experts on the Middle East and what's going on. So we're first going to start. We have a guest coming on. Her name is Karen Schoen. She is going to help us understand and get our head around the Common Core standards. Common Core is a term that's used to describe the standards that is being implemented in several different states across the country, including here in Florida. And there's been a lot of controversy over some of the elements to that, some of the different curriculum changes, some of the books and that kind of thing. So we're going to have her on. She's a former teacher and now a activist. She's even told me that she's going to be running for office, so we'll have to ask her about that. So good morning, Karen. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Brandon. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and bringing the truth to the people. That's so important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Time in history today.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me run right to Common Core. I want to start with let's start with reading. What is the one thing about the standards that you find most concerning from the reading aspect?
Well, basically, they've removed the tools that enable people to be able to read. They're no longer teaching spelling, grammar, punctuation, cursive writing, and literature. So, therefore, if you expect someone to be able to read and you take away their tools, then how do you expect them to be able to read, which is why we have the reading problems that we have today. The other problem that I have with reading is the content of the material. When you are training, that's not educating, that's training. We train our pets, we don't train people. And education has become a training for work. That's not the job of education. As a teacher, what we were expected to do was present all of the tools and enable the student, whose new name is now human capital, that's what they call them, to take the human capital and put them in a situation that they are going into school and essentially having the tools that will make them successful taken away, then how do we expect them to be successful? School was changed into three very important sentences in the 1980s, and that was from Shirley McCune, who went with George Bush 41 and Bill Clinton, who was the president of the Governor's Council. She said that education of human capital should be training for work. That's not a role of education. She also said that education was to change the individual mindset into that of a collective mindset. That's not the role of education either. And the third thing that she said was that factual information is no longer important, that value-driven information to change the human capital's mindset into the values that were decided. My question is, decided by whom? That is also not a role of education. So we're not educating, and we're not teaching, and we're not certainly not teaching reading.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to get to
No, I was just going to say, so how do we expect our children to be successful when we are already giving them information that's going to make them unsuccessful?
one of the things that you're touching on that I want to try to make sure I add some more depth to here is the concept of training, because when you and I was privileged to look over some of the standards here recently. They're rolling out a lot of educational programs to our teachers as we speak, as school has ramped up. So the teachers are going to seminars on this. They're going to after school PowerPoint presentations, that kind of thing. It really talks a lot about informational reading, which goes in line with what you're saying about training. How do you get your head around, or Karen, what do you say to people to enlighten them to understand the value of literature and poetry? Because I know most folks are going to come away from school, and we tend to sometimes complain about it when we're going through it. We tend to have, oh, that was so boring, that was this. But in hindsight, I know I have a lot of value in reading some of those classics and even the poetry that I may not have enjoyed during the time. And instead, we're going to teach them basically training manuals, informational guides as part of their education, right? I mean, am I right on all this?
You are exactly 100% right, and that's because education was changed into a training ground for industry. Well, that's not the job of education. The job of education is that when a child graduates high school, they should be able to read, write, do math, and then be able to make their own choices in their own industry, whatever they want to do in their career. That's not happening now. The children are being tracked into and guided or misguided into what a computer program thinks should be their path for their future. Well, that's not what education is, and that certainly does not create excellent people when you are tracked at an early age and sort of pushed into something. I received an email from someone we do a lot of work overseas, and Common Core has hit them as well. So Common Core is not an American thing. It's a UN program coming out of UNESCO, and it's being implemented all over the world. And the saddest thing that I got was an email from a woman that said, please don't let this happen in America. Let me explain what happened to me. I live in Sweden. When I was a young child, I was fascinated by numbers. I knew I wanted to be a mathematician. That's all I thought about my whole life was the numbers and how they worked and patterns. She said, my school decided I should be a scientist. Today I am a scientist. I hate my job. That's what we're doing to our kids.
Right, and let's continue to pull this apart a little bit, because we're touching on a good point. Let's play devil's advocate with me for a second, Karen. Let's just assume that we're going to go along with the training motif. We're going to say, all right, well, this is going to be the new function of schools. Let's just assume that's the case. Even with that said, standardizing it across America doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because the jobs that I have, let's say here in Florida, are not the same kind of training and jobs that we're going to have, let's say, in West Virginia, Utah, Illinois. How can we standardize training them the same way when the job markets in those areas aren't the same at all? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, then you have to go back to the original premise. The whole concept is not supposed to make sense. It's just supposed to cost money, because the people that are putting it in place have no desire to have successful people. They don't want the competition. They want everybody to be the same. That is what globalism is. And we were pushed into this global ideology by a group of people who have no desire to have anyone be educated superior to themselves.
Yeah, I don't want to get jump ahead. So let me backtrack again to math. So let's go to math real quick. The biggest story, I think, in math so far was obviously the video that leaked online. We have the story on the globaldispatch.com, folks. If you want to type in the search box Common Core, you'll find we were able to syndicate an article that Karen did. It was on the 10th Amendment Center website. It was on a couple other places. We were able to syndicate it as well, where she really tears into Common Core, dating back to the Bush administrations and things like that. So it's a fantastic article. But we also have the story where the video's leaked, where the person says, look, 3 times 4 equals to 11. Yeah, it'll be corrected, but how the student gets there is more important than just the answer. So it really doesn't matter if they're right or wrong anymore. It's more about this ambiguous thought process that they come up with for something like math, which is clearly black and white. So,
well, that's the other thing. Math is factual, and if you're training the human capital that there are no facts, then you really don't want them to learn math, because math creates patterns, and it enables the individual by recognizing patterns to be able to make choices. Well, if you take that away and the individual has no concept of patterns, has no concept of what happens first, to be able to put things in a logical manner, to be able to draw a conclusion from past experience. That's what math enables people to do. So if that is not important, then math becomes, well, I can feel good about it. But again, the correct numbers are not the answer, because they're teaching in school that your answer is not important. How is that possible?
Yeah,
well, when you're striving for mediocrity, the correct answer is not important. And when you're working in a group mentality that the group is only important, the correct answer is not important. So we're training our kids to believe that being right or wrong is unimportant. Therefore, there are no consequences for their actions, and everything should be done on an emotional, not logical basis. So that's why we have kids that have no common sense. They have no understanding of logic and reason and patterns and orders and what to do in a priority of order, what a normal life would be as you prioritize the things that you have to do in your life. So they have no understanding of that. And they have no understanding that their actions have consequences because they never get to know what the right answer is.
Let me go to my son just briefly. Jake's in the studio with us this morning, Karen. I homeschool Jake, and he's in his senior year. We're doing Algebra 2 together. Jake, how would that feel if you just got away with just writing it all down? Your intentions were good, but your answers were all wrong, and I just let you fly with that?
I'm not sure I could function.
You'd be completely done in like a week.
Right. I mean, even in like third grade, I was not good at multiplication in third grade. And when I got it wrong, I was wrong. My teacher never said, well, you
had good intentions,
wrong,
right?
But as long
Did
as
you feel good? You put it down on the paper. Thank you, and here's your gold star for coming to school. That's not the way real life works.
Jake's definitely the perfect poster child for this argument, because most of what Jake does wrong in math is attention to detail issues. Signs getting reversed, a positive and a negative sign. It's always little things. Overall, the process is fine. So when you grade his work, he's a B student, sometimes a C student in math, but you'd be a straight A student in math by their standards because your intentions were good.
Right.
That's right. And by not being able to recognize the order of operations, for example, that's a very simple one. By not being able to recognize that, then facing a problem in real life where you would be putting together your knowledge from the past of order of operations, how do you go and perform a task? Well, you can't. So therefore, they have to give you training manuals to train you what would be necessary to go to work, because they're not giving you that in school. They're not teaching you how to recognize it on your own. They're training you the way a business wants you to learn. That's not education.
And let's go right.
Training for a company, and that's not what education is supposed to be doing.
And let's go right to that, because you'd written this article back in June, and again, it's on theglobaldispatch.com. It is elsewhere. You had written this. It talks about answering Florida State Senator John Legg on Common Core standards. And one of the things that struck me, and it doesn't matter if you're right, left, conservative, liberal, almost everyone believes in the principle of if you follow the money, ... And this article starts to really get into, and please touch on, some of the names and how far back this goes to get Common Core to us. I think most people know about Bill Gates now, but go ahead and kind of give us a little bit of the timeline, because we could be here for an hour talking about that, but just give us a synopsis of the timeline of follow the money.
Well, it really started about 100 years ago, but we'll fast forward to the 50s. Eisenhower sent a commission of governors to Russia to study the Russian school system because he felt that Americans were getting too smart, and smart people require more from their government, so they should be trained to work and not be educated to ask questions for the government. So they took the term of individuality and turned it on its head and said, no, we can't be exceptional in America, which is what America is all about, individual people learning, doing wonderful things, coming together and creating more incredible things. Think about that. We don't have that anymore today. So they got together, and with the Rockefeller Foundation came up with the idea that if they used the environment to scare the people, they could corral the people into doing a lot of amazing things, including giving up a lot of their rights. The Department of Education was created, and of course they fooled the people again, because in the code of the Education Code it said that the federal government may never get involved in curriculum. Nationalization of education was never supposed to happen in America, because in America the concept was that 50 individual sovereign states, each one would be able to create their own excellence, and all of that excellence working together would create an incredible country, which is what we did. So all of that was taken away and replaced. Myself, went to college in one of the places that I went was called the New School of Social Research, and that was a John Dewey experimentational school. And my first job as a teacher was to teach in a school that had no walls, because everybody had to be together. We were all one, which didn't work. Then you realize that the majority of their programs were never designed to work. They were just designed to be expensive, because the problems that were created for the human capital had nothing to do with the human capital actually learning. Okay, in the 80s, Shirley McCune went to the Governors Association with George Bush 41 as president and made the three statements that education, human capital must be trained to work, that individualism should be replaced by collectivism, and that fact-based education was no longer important as long as the people had value-based education. My question at that is, whose values? Mark Tucker wrote a letter to Hillary Clinton when Bill became in office, and in this letter he described the Soviet model of training for work. Now, as a business owner, training is the most expensive thing that any business undertakes. So when you take training out of the hands of the corporation and you put it on the backs of the taxpayer, think about how profitable the corporation then becomes, because they don't have to train anybody. The taxpayer is doing that. Fast forward to No Child Left Behind. Well, actually, Shirley started, the program was called School to Work, then it was called Goals 2000, then it was called Millennium Goals, then it was called American Sustainability Program, then it was called No Child Left Behind, and today it's called Common Core. And it's all the same program, all created by the same people, all coming out of the United Nations, all with the help of Jeb Bush, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, the Saudis, the Kuwaitis. This is why our textbooks are Islamic biased. We have to follow the money. The same people benefit continually just by flipping around program to program. Jeb Bush's brother, Neil Bush, owns a company called Ignite, and they provide the software. Bill Gates, in his contracts with the United Nations, also provides other technology. Dell provides the iPad, and now they want to remove textbooks from school. We have situations today that books and history are being rewritten. And if you listen to Michelle Obama, she said that's what they were going to do. So they're doing that. That the same people, how do you change the mindset of free people into believing that they must be part of a collective, part of a group, and they're only as good as their group is? You have to do that in school. So I asked the legislators, what is social justice? What does that mean? They have no idea. But yet we're teaching that in our school. That's communism. What are international benchmarks? They have no idea. Where do they come from? They have no idea. They come from UNESCO, from the United Nations. America 10th Amendment and Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution states that no state should be involved in any international program, especially one that is in total opposition to what the United States stands for. Now, when people don't learn the Constitution and they don't learn American history, which is no longer taught in school, in high school American history now starts in 1865. So if you don't know your founding documents, you don't know American history, you don't know the freedom, you have no understanding of liberty and pursuit of happiness, and all you are taught is that you are as good as the collective, then we have a group of people today, like we have, who are zombies who cannot read. And I guess we could say mission accomplished.
Well, we're running up against the clock here, but I want to squeeze in one last thing because I know some parents were a little surprised when their kids went back to school and they were sent home with notices or information discussing how overweight they were, and they were probably quick to learn that was part of the Common Core standard as well. So give us a prediction here, because I know that this is kind of, to me, how one of the ways we prove that we're trying to be truthful. We're being honest, and we earn people's respect and loyalty, because what is going to be a couple of the other things really quickly that people kind of they're going to hear about in the coming weeks, especially as kids start heading into testing, that Common Core is going to surprise them with?
Well, it's the concept. I would imagine that the grades will be getting worse because there's less and less actual learning going on, and until they acclimate the poor quality of the tests to the poor quality of the education, the grades are going to be worse. So the answer in America now becomes, oh, well, we are second or third or fifth, but compared to what? And when you're looking at the real scale, which is total mediocrity, what are we becoming? Well, we might be, like third or fourth in a mediocre world, because the whole world is following the same lousy standards which don't teach anything. So the things that you have to look for and go to your school board is go through the text, and when you see things that are there, read what your kids are reading, understand what they're understanding, and when you look and find things that are inaccurate, don't be part of the silent majority. We've been trained to be politically correct, which means don't tell the truth. We've been trained not to talk about politics and religion, which means we're in a mess that we're in today because we're not paying attention. And we've been trained to be the silent majority. But the wonderful thing is that as long as we begin to push back, there are no answers for our questions because they were never designed for anybody to question them.
Absolutely.
So when we start questioning and pushing back, many of the people who don't understand this are actually appalled by what they're seeing because they're beginning to realize that they were just fed a bill of goods as well.
All right. Well, listen, we have to wrap up there. Her name is Karen Schoen, and we have a ton of the links to her different sites. She's extremely political active. She's got different websites. She's part of the Save America Foundation, which a lot of folks know we're proud supporters of and partners with. And we will definitely be having you on again.
Wonderful group of people.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And we need to just do what we're doing. Just talk the truth.
We need to join together and unify and talk to each other about problems, because we will find we're all experiencing the same problems. And once we realize that and we work together, united we stand. That's the simplest way to put it.
Well, I guarantee that we'll have Common Core in the headlines, so we'll be looking to have you on again so soon. Thank you again for your time. God bless, and you take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, we're going to run to a break here, and when we come back, we're going to play the interview with Brett Durbin, founder of Trash Mountain Project.
There's a great youth mentorship program in the greater Tampa Bay area. Mission Flight United is a non-profit organization which reaches out to kids, especially teens, who love aviation and want to fly. Whether they have an interest in helicopters, fixed-wing airplanes, or aviation mechanics, Mission Flight United offers education, flight simulation, and great life application skills to help in all of these areas. For more information on their weekly classes or to make a tax-deductible donation, contact the instructor, Dana Walker, at 207-233-0669. With every $50 donation, you get a 1-hour demonstration and can schedule a flight with Dana to see for yourself what Mission Flight United has to offer. Again, call Dana at 207-233-0669 or simply Google Mission Flight United.
This is Brandon from Dispatch Radio, and you probably hate taking your vehicle to the shop just about as much as I do. That little noise, that wobble, that rattling sound, well, we know it's probably something really bad, so we put it off and put it off. But I'm here to tell you about my friends over at Stouts Auto. Whether it be brakes, alignment, tires, AC, these are folks that just want to get you in and get you out, treat you right doing it. They have 2 locations in the area, 18300 US 19 North in Clearwater and 1801 Belcher in Largo. There's 2 numbers, 727-400-6955 in Largo, 727-475-6006. Check them out. Give them a call. You can go to their website at stoutsauto.com. Tell them the Global Dispatch sent you.